Listen, there's a country that hasn't had a single tantrum in 7 years. Not one meltdown in a grocery store, not one power struggle at bedtime, not one defiant no screamed across the living room. I'm talking about Finland. And before you roll your eyes and think, well, that's Finland, that doesn't apply to me, hear me out. Because what Finnish parents know, what they've been doing for generations, is about to completely transform the way you think about raising children. Finland has been ranked the happiest country in the world for 7 years straight. And it's not a coincidence that they also raise some of the most well-adjusted, emotionally intelligent, and confident children on the planet. No timeouts, no reward charts, no punishment, and yet Finnish children are remarkably cooperative, respectful, and self-regulated. So what are they doing that we're not? What do they know that most parents are completely missing? That's exactly what we're diving into today, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you're going to have a completely different framework for understanding discipline, respect, and what it actually takes to raise confident, capable children. Here's the core philosophy that Finnish parenting is built on, and it's going to sound radical to a lot of you. Children are born worthy of respect. Not children earn respect through good behavior. They believe that how you treat a child from day one shapes who they become. And if you want respectful, cooperative children, you start by giving them respect. Even when they're 2 years old and throwing a fit over the wrong colored cup. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Respect? My toddler? They need to learn to respect me first. But here's what Finnish parents understand that changes everything. Respect is not obedience. Respect is seeing your child as a full human being with valid feelings, thoughts, and needs, even when those needs are inconvenient or their feelings seem irrational. And before we go any further, hit that subscribe button right now, because here at the Parenting Blueprint, we're bringing you strategies from the world's most successful parenting cultures, backed by science, that you can actually implement today. So let's break down the specific principles that Finnish parents use to raise these incredibly well-adjusted children. Because these aren't just abstract ideas, these are practical strategies you can start using immediately. The first principle is something Finnish parents call peaceful coexistence, and it's going to challenge everything you think you know about discipline. Here's the idea. Children and adults can coexist peacefully without one dominating the other. There's no power struggle because nobody's trying to win. In most Western parenting, we operate from a hierarchical model. Parent is the authority, child must obey, and when the child doesn't comply, we use our power through punishment, consequences, or control to force compliance. We see it as us versus them. We have to win or they'll walk all over us. Finnish parents reject this entirely. They see the parent-child relationship as a partnership where the adult has more knowledge and experience, yes, but the child is still a person deserving of dignity and autonomy. The goal is not obedience. The goal is cooperation built on mutual respect. So what does this look like in real life? Let's say your 3-year-old doesn't want to leave the playground. In the traditional model, you might say, "We're leaving now. Let's go." And when they refuse, you escalate, threatening, counting to 3, maybe physically removing them while they scream. The Finnish approach is completely different. You get down on their level. You acknowledge their reality. You're having so much fun. You really don't want to leave yet. Then you bring them into the problem solving. We do need to go home for dinner. Would you like 5 more minutes on the swings, or should we plan to come back tomorrow? You're not asking permission. You're not letting them make the final decision, but you're treating them like a person whose feelings matter, who deserves to be part of the conversation. And here's what's remarkable. Finnish children raised this way from birth are far more cooperative. Not because they're afraid of consequences, but because cooperation has always been modeled for them. The second principle is what they call less praise, more encouragement. And this one surprises people because we've been taught that praising children builds their self-esteem. But Finnish research shows something different. Constant praise actually creates anxiety and dependence on external validation. Instead of saying, "good job," or "you're so smart," every time a child does something, Finnish parents focus on encouragement and observation. "You worked really hard on that puzzle. I noticed you shared your toy with your friend. You figured that out all by yourself." The difference is subtle but powerful. Praise judges the child. It says, "I approve of you right now because of what you did." Encouragement describes the process and acknowledges effort without judgment. It builds intrinsic motivation instead of people-pleasing. Finnish children grow up with a strong internal compass because they're not constantly looking to adults for approval. They learn to evaluate their own work, to find satisfaction in their own effort, to make choices based on their values rather than what will earn them praise. The third principle, and this is a big one, equality and respect in communication. Finnish parents don't talk down to children. They don't use baby talk past infancy. They don't dismiss or minimize feelings. They speak to children the same way they'd speak to an adult they respect, clearly, honestly, and with consideration. This means when a child asks a question, they get a real answer, not a dismissive "because I said so." When a child expresses a feeling, it's validated, not corrected. When there's a conflict, both perspectives are heard. And here's what this creates. Children who feel genuinely heard develop stronger communication skills, better emotional regulation, and deeper trust in their parents. They don't learn to shut down or hide their feelings. They learn to express them constructively because that's what's always been modeled for them. The fourth principle is something that might make you uncomfortable at first, but stay with me. Freedom with responsibility. Finnish parents give their children far more autonomy than most Western parents would ever consider, but it comes with clear expectations about responsibility. Finnish children as young as 5 or 6 are walking to school alone, playing outside unsupervised, making their own snacks, deciding what to wear, regardless of weather. This isn't neglect, it's intentional. They believe children need real responsibility to develop genuine confidence and competence. But here's the key. This freedom isn't given randomly or recklessly. It's scaffolded. Finnish parents prepare their children carefully, teach the skills needed, discuss the risks openly, and trust them to handle age-appropriate challenges. When mistakes happen, and they do, there's no shaming. There's problem solving. What happened? What could you do differently next time? What did you learn? This creates children who actually develop good judgment because they've had practice making real decisions with real consequences. Compare this to children who are micromanaged and controlled until they're teenagers, then suddenly expected to make good choices when they've never had the chance to practice. Finnish children develop what psychologists call an internal locus of control. They believe their choices matter, and they're capable of affecting outcomes. Children raised with constant control develop an external locus of control. They wait to be told what to do. They blame others when things go wrong, and they struggle with independence. The fifth principle is one that might surprise you. No competition, only cooperation. Finnish culture, and especially Finnish parenting, actively discourages competition between children. There are no comparisons, no "who's the best," no ranked achievements in early childhood. In Finnish schools, children aren't graded until they're older. There's no tracking, no gifted programs, no public displays of who's ahead or behind. And Finnish parents extend this into the home. They don't compare siblings. They don't use competition as motivation. They don't praise one child's achievement as a way to motivate another. Why? Because competition creates anxiety, damages self-worth, and actually undermines intrinsic motivation. When children are constantly compared to others, they learn that their value is relative, conditional, and always at risk. They become focused on being better than others instead of being the best version of themselves. Finnish children grow up with what researchers call a growth mindset. They believe abilities can be developed, Mistakes are opportunities to learn, and effort matters more than innate talent. This comes directly from being raised without the constant pressure of competition and comparison. The sixth principle, and this one is crucial: natural consequences over imposed punishment. Finnish parents rarely punish in the traditional sense. No timeouts, no taking away privileges, no sending to their room. Instead, they let natural and logical consequences do the teaching. If a child refuses to wear a coat, they get cold and learn to dress appropriately. If they break a toy by being careless, the toy stays broken and they learn to be more careful. If they hurt someone's feelings, they see the hurt and learn about empathy and repair. The parent's role isn't to punish, it's to support the child through experiencing the natural outcome of their choice. You're cold without your coat. That's uncomfortable. Tomorrow, what will you do differently? There's no lecture, no "I told you so," no additional consequence piled on. The experience itself is the teacher. This approach requires patience and trust. Trust that children actually want to learn, that they're capable of learning from experience, and that your relationship doesn't need to be adversarial. And what Finnish parents have found is that children raised this way develop much better judgment because they've actually experienced the connection between choices and outcomes without the confusion of arbitrary punishment. The seventh principle is absolutely fundamental to everything Finnish parents do: unconditional love and acceptance. And I don't just mean saying, "I love you." I mean demonstrating through every interaction that your love is not conditional on behavior, achievement, or compliance. Finnish parents separate the child from the behavior in every situation. The message is never, "You're bad." It's always, "Your behavior needs to change." There's a massive difference. One attacks the child's identity and worth. The other addresses a specific action while preserving the relationship. So when a Finnish child makes a mistake or misbehaves, the response isn't withdrawal of affection, cold shoulders, or statements like, "I'm so disappointed in you." The response is, "I love you, and we need to talk about what happened. Help me understand what was going on for you." This creates what attachment researchers call secure attachment, the foundation of emotional health. Children who know their parents' love is unconditional develop stronger self-worth, better emotional regulation, and healthier relationships throughout life. They don't spend their energy trying to earn love or avoid rejection. That energy goes toward learning, growing, and becoming themselves. Now here's the eighth principle, and it's one that Western parents struggle with the most: patience with development. Finnish parents have deep trust in developmental timelines. They don't rush milestones. They don't push academics early. They don't panic when their child isn't doing what other children are doing. They understand that children develop at their own pace, and pushing them before they're ready doesn't help. It actually creates anxiety and resistance. Finnish children don't start formal academics until age 7, and yet by age 15, they consistently outperform children from countries that start academic instruction at age 4 or 5. Why? Because they spent those early years building exactly what we talked about in the last video: emotional security, confidence, creativity, and intrinsic motivation. They develop the foundation that makes all future learning easier and more effective. Finnish parents apply this same patience to behavior. They don't expect a 3-year-old to have the self-control of a 7-year-old. They don't punish developmentally appropriate behavior. They meet children where they are and gently guide them forward, trusting the process of development. The ninth principle is something beautiful. Play is sacred. Finnish culture treats play not as a reward for good behavior or something that happens after the important stuff is done. Play is the important stuff. It's how children learn, process emotions, develop creativity, and make sense of their world. Finnish parents protect playtime fiercely. They don't overschedule. They don't fill every moment with structured activities. They give children huge amounts of unstructured time to just play, outside, with simple toys, with other children, or alone. And they join children in play without taking over. They follow the child's lead. They don't turn play into a teaching moment. They're just present, enjoying their child, letting imagination run wild. This creates connection, joy, and the message that the child is worth spending time with just as they are. Now, if these principles are resonating with you and you want more strategies like this, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed, because we're diving even deeper into practical applications you can use starting today. The 10th principle might be the most countercultural of all. Mistakes are expected and welcomed. Finnish parents don't just tolerate mistakes, they actually value them as essential learning opportunities. When a child spills something, breaks something, or makes a poor choice, there's no anger, no shaming, no harsh consequences. The response is curiosity. Oops, what happened? Then problem solving. What do we need to do now? And reflection. What could you do differently next time? The emotional tone stays warm. The relationship stays intact. And the child learns that mistakes don't define them. Mistakes are just information about what to do differently. This mindset around mistakes creates something incredible. Children who aren't afraid to try new things, who don't crumble under failure, who see challenges as opportunities rather than threats. Finnish children grow up with remarkable resilience because they've learned that mistakes are normal, fixable, and valuable. Compare this to children who are punished, shamed, or criticized for mistakes. They learn to hide mistakes, to lie to avoid consequences, to play it safe rather than risk failure. They develop what psychologists call perfectionism anxiety, the paralyzing fear of making mistakes that prevents them from taking healthy risks or trying difficult things. The 11th principle is deeply countercultural in our achievement-obsessed society. Enough is enough. Finnish parents don't constantly push for more, better, higher, faster. When a child does something well, there's acknowledgement, but not the immediate, now let's work on this next thing. There's contentment with where the child is right now. There's celebration of effort and progress without always reaching for the next milestone. This creates children who develop healthy self-acceptance instead of the constant feeling that they're never quite good enough. Finnish parents ask themselves, is my child healthy? Are they curious? Do they have joy? Can they manage their emotions reasonably well for their age? If the answer is yes, they're not looking for problems to fix or areas to improve. They're enjoying their child exactly as they are. This doesn't mean they don't encourage growth or challenge their children. It means the growth happens naturally, without pressure, without the message that the child isn't acceptable as they currently are. And ironically, children raised this way often achieve more because they're motivated by genuine interest rather than pressure to prove their worth. The 12th principle, and this might be the most practical one, consistency with flexibility. Finnish parents maintain clear, consistent boundaries and expectations, but they're also flexible when circumstances warrant it. They're not rigid rule followers. They're thoughtful decision makers who consider context. If the family rule is bedtime at 8, but tonight there's a beautiful sunset and the child asks to stay up to watch it, a Finnish parent might say yes, not because they're permissive, but because they're weighing the value of the experience against the importance of the rule in this specific moment. This teaches children nuanced thinking. They learn that rules exist for good reasons, but that we can think critically about when exceptions make sense. They develop judgment, not just blind obedience, and they learn that their parents are reasonable people who consider their perspective, which actually increases respect and cooperation. Now here's the 13th principle, and it's crucial. Emotional expression is healthy and normal. Finnish culture doesn't stigmatize emotions. Children aren't told to stop crying, calm down, or don't be angry. All emotions are accepted as valid human experiences. When a Finnish child is upset, the parent's job is to stay calm and present, not to shut down the emotion. You're really angry. I can see that. It's okay to be angry. Let's figure out what to do with that feeling. The emotion is validated. The child feels seen. And then, once they're regulated, they can problem solve together. This creates adults who have healthy relationships with their emotions. They don't suppress feelings until they explode. They don't feel shame about being human. They've learned from childhood that emotions are information, not emergencies, and that they have the capacity to feel intensely and still be okay. Finnish adults have some of the lowest rates of anxiety and depression in the developed world. This isn't genetic, it's cultural. It comes directly from being raised in families where emotional expression was normalized, where feelings were validated, and where children learned healthy regulation through co-regulation with calm, present parents. The final principle, and this ties everything together, is something Finnish parents call wholeness over perfection. They're not trying to raise perfect children. They're trying to raise whole, healthy, authentic human beings who know themselves, trust themselves, and can navigate life with confidence and compassion. This means they don't micromanage every aspect of their child's life. They don't try to control outcomes. They don't panic when their child struggles or fails or goes through difficult phases. They trust the process of growing up with all its messiness and imperfection. Finnish parents understand something profound. Children don't need perfect childhoods to become healthy adults. They need good enough childhoods where they feel loved, where they're given space to develop, where mistakes are learning opportunities, and where they're respected as the unique individuals they are. And here's what decades of research confirms. This approach works. Finnish children consistently rank among the happiest, most emotionally healthy, and most academically successful children in the world. Not because they're pushed harder or controlled more strictly, but because they're raised with respect, trust, and genuine connection. Now, I know some of you are thinking, this is Finland. They have different resources, different culture, different support systems. I can't do this in my reality, and I want to address that because it's important. You're right that culture and context matter. Finnish parents have excellent parental leave, universal health care, and strong community support. Those things make parenting easier, no question. But the principles I've shared with you today, those don't require any of that. Those are choices you can make in your daily interactions with your child, starting right now. You can choose to speak to your child with respect. You can choose to validate their emotions. You can choose to see mistakes as learning opportunities. You can choose connection over control. You can choose to trust your child's developmental timeline. None of that requires special resources. It requires a mindset shift. And here's what I've seen working with thousands of families. When parents start implementing even a few of these principles, everything changes. The power struggles decrease. The connection strengthens. The child's behavior actually improves, not because of punishment or control, but because the child feels respected, understood, and secure. It won't happen overnight. If your child is used to a different parenting style, there will be an adjustment period. They might test boundaries harder at first. They might not trust that this new approach is real. That's normal. Stay consistent. Keep showing up with respect and connection. The shift will come. Remember, Finnish parents aren't superhuman. They're not doing anything you're incapable of doing. They're simply operating from a different set of beliefs about children, respect, and what discipline actually means. They believe children are born worthy of respect. They believe cooperation is built, not forced. They believe in trusting development rather than rushing it. And most importantly, they believe that the relationship between parent and child is the foundation of everything. When that relationship is strong, built on mutual respect and genuine connection, behavior follows naturally. Children want to cooperate with people who respect them. They want to learn from people who trust them. They want to become the people their parents already see them as capable of becoming. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one principle from this video. Just one. Maybe it's speaking to your child with more respect. Maybe it's validating emotions instead of dismissing them. Maybe it's letting natural consequences teach instead of imposing punishment. Choose one and practice it consistently for the next 2 weeks. Watch what happens. Watch how your child responds. Watch how you feel. Watch how the dynamic between you shifts. Because here's the truth. You don't have to move to Finland to raise emotionally healthy, confident, cooperative children. You just have to be willing to see your child differently, not as someone to be controlled, but as someone to be respected, guided, and trusted. They're not giving you a hard time. They're learning how to be human. And your job isn't to make them obey. It's to walk alongside them with patience and respect as they figure out who they are and who they want to become.